Today we're going to be talking about some of the games that your ex will play if they want you back. Now, you're familiar with the game poker, right? You sit there and you're playing an opponent, and typically speaking, a big concept of poker is the bluff. You know, someone pretends they have a better hand than they really do, and so they bluff. Of course, some expert poker players will look out and look for what's called tells. Basically, a tell is something that a player who you're playing will do that gives away the fact that they're bluffing. And so I'm bringing up this ridiculous poker analogy in this ridiculous video to actually kind of explain to you how I'm going to be formatting this video. So what we've done is we've come up with these specific types of games that your ex will play. And I figured one really great way to structure this video should not only be for me to explain what those games are, but also to help you understand what the tells are, so you can really understand the intentions behind your ex playing these games. So without further ado, let's talk about some of the games your ex will play if they want you back. Game number 1, going on a date to make you jealous. I don't really know how much more I need to define other than the fact that you've gone through this breakup with your ex and your ex really starts going on dates with other people, but you get a hint of them trying too hard to make you jealous. So what's the tell here that this is what your ex is doing? Well, simply put, if you noticed on social media that they're a little bit too obvious about the fact that they're going on dates and they're almost like trying to prove something that seems inauthentic for them about this date, then it's a good sign that they are trying to make you jealous. And usually if you look at the intent behind someone trying to make someone else jealous, it means that they still care very deeply about that person that they're trying to make jealous, and that this new person that they're dating is simply nothing more than a pawn to them to make you jealous. So keep an eye out for that. Game number 2, giving you mixed signals. All right, hot and cold. You know, one minute you're with your ex and things seem to be going so well that you think or you believe that you're on the precipice of getting them back, and then the next day goes by and they don't talk to you. And then a few weeks go by and then all of a sudden it seems like you've gotten second life. And then the next day goes by and they don't want to talk to you again. This is kind of known as rubber banding, mixed signals, being hot and cold. Now, typically speaking, we find that when this occurs for exes, they're having an internal battle with themselves over what they should be doing. So what's the tell to determine if your ex is doing this because they have feelings for you? Well, I always like to tell people that if you're experiencing mixed signals or you're hot and cold, forget about what your ex is saying and start looking at what they're doing, because their actions will actually tell you how they really feel. So for example, we've had multiple cases where we've had success stories come through and their ex has literally told them, I don't want to be with you anymore. I never loved you again, or we're never talking. You need to move on to someone else. All of these things you would think are really horrible sort of outcomes. Yet a few months down the road, after they go through a program, they get their exes back and realize their ex didn't mean anything that they said. So here's my point. If you're ever on the fence about what your ex really means when they say certain things or give you mixed signals, start paying attention to what they're doing. Their actions are louder than words. The other thing I will say with this is it takes time. Sometimes you have to allow enough time for their actions to unfold. Game number 3, waiting a long time to text you back. This always annoyed me when I was dating. You'd be with someone, you're having a great conversation, things seem to be going really well, and then all of a sudden, boom, they just stop talking to you. And you're sitting there and you're looking at your phone constantly expecting to get a text back and it doesn't come. And then you're like, well, okay, I'm gonna go over here and pay attention to this. But while you're paying attention to that, you are really paying attention to why they haven't texted you back. And then the text finally comes. So what's the tell? How do you know that your ex is playing this game with you? Well, I think the big tell here is paying attention to the type of conversation you're having when they restart the conversation. Because I think the big fear here is that an ex is simply not responding to you or not texting you back because they're growing bored in the conversation. They're just talking to you because they're just trying to be nice. Well, the way you can kind of undercut this fear is by paying attention to the exact conversation you have when they restart the conversation up again through text. So if you're having a great conversation and then it gets interrupted and then they text you back a couple of hours later and that conversation just continues to flow, it's a great sign that they're just playing games with you. They're trying to play hard to get because this is what they think is going to work for them to get you, I guess, or to get you to want them, and it kind of does. Real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. Game number 4, ignoring you for a few days. So you'll notice kind of the common theme in these last 2 different games. The last one was all about an ex literally just sort of like interrupting a conversation and then starting it up again. This one is all about interrupting the flow of conversation over the course of a few days. So this usually occurs when you and your ex seem to be going really well, you're building rapport back and forth, you're having conversations back and forth, and then all of a sudden they drop off the face of the map for a few days. You reach out to them, there's no response, you're not wanting to overstep your boundaries, so you didn't push them, and then they get back in touch with you after a few days. What were they doing during those few days? Did they meet someone else? All of these thoughts tend to enter. So what's the tell that this is just a game that they're playing when they're trying to get you back, or they're interested in getting you back? Again, I think you need to look at the quality of conversation. So really, I think conversations, the best way I would describe them when you're talking about ex recovery is momentum. A lot of times, once the momentum builds, it's hard to stop it. And if an ex has enough self-restraint to stop it and then start the momentum back up again, and it's almost like you didn't lose a beat, it's a great sign that they're just playing a game with you. And game number 5, watching your stories but never saying anything. So this is always a fun thing because when I first started Ex-Boyfriend Recovery, Instagram and Snapchat, they weren't really a thing. I mean, I think they existed. I started Ex-Boyfriend Recovery in 2012. I don't actually know when Instagram started. I just know it started getting popular around the time that Facebook acquired it. Back in the day, it was just Facebook. So you would always be looking at, is your ex liking your Facebook photos? Are they responding to your Facebook comments? What does it mean when they post this? But nowadays, we have a different weapon in our tool belt, which is the advent of Instagram stories. And the beauty of Instagram stories, in my opinion, is the fact that you can literally see who's watching them. And the funny thing you'll notice, especially with some of our clients, is they'll post an Instagram story and they'll see their ex watches it. They'll post another Instagram story, they'll see their ex watches it, and as they continue this trend, they see every time they post an Instagram story, the ex is watching it. Is this technically a game? Yes and no, because the important thing here is we're looking for exes who are watching Instagram stories, but aren't talking to you at all. So if that's happening, here's usually the tell that this is a game and that they are interested in you in some way, shape, or form. They're watching your stories. That's the tell. So the important thing to remember here is you're looking for a consistency. So if every time that you post an Instagram story, your ex is watching that Instagram story but not talking to you, it is definitely almost venturing into the game-like territory because they know you can see that you're watching them and they know that they're not talking to you. They're trying to get a rise out of you so that you contact them with something like, hey, I noticed you're watching my Instagram stories. The point here is if your ex is doing this, they're effectively doing 2 things. Number 1 is they're spying on you because they want to see what you're up to. Number 2 is they're playing a game with you because they still have feelings for you. So I'm curious, what games did I miss? We only covered really 5 games, the 5 sort of big games that we see exes playing, but what games have you experienced from your exes that they wanted you back? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you haven't taken our Ex Recovery Chances quiz and you're interested in trying to figure out what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back, simply looking in the description link below this YouTube video and clicking the link you see there will help you actually get an understanding, because we put together a special quiz that's designed to tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. So again, link below, click it. Also, if you haven't liked or subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you could please do so, I would be eternally grateful. I'll see you next time.